going to, oh, it is Joy. We are, is it pause? No, it's not pause. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. I'm Claudette with Claudette Travels on Meetup, bunch of travel groups on Meetup. And I am so happy that we were able to get Thomas Cheng of Norwegian Cruise Lines to present to us tonight and talk about the differences between cruise and land packages. Thomas is a multilingual business development manager with Norwegian Cruise Lines. And you've been with Norwegian now for over 4 years?
Going on six. Going on six.
Okay, going on 6 years. And and Thomas is the business development manager based out of Los Angeles, where my host agency is. And I had the extreme pleasure of meeting Thomas at a seminar at sea on the Norwegian Bliss from Vancouver to oh gosh, where did we go? I want to say
Spirit. No,
Anchorage.
Norwegian Spirit from Vancouver to Seward.
Seward,
Seward,
thank you. Oh my
Alaska.
gosh, I'm like all over the place. Yeah. Bliss. Yeah, so I got to meet Thomas for the first time, even though we've been in touch, well, going on 2 or 3 years now, I think. So
Yeah, just meeting through Zoom.
yes, yes. So thank you, Thomas, and really looking forward to learning more about this and seeing what you have up your sleeve.
Well, thank you, and thank you everyone for for joining us, and for the future people who would see this recording. My name is Thomas Cheng. I am the regional sales and marketing manager for Norwegian Cruise Line, and I could talk about Norwegian for hours, maybe days. But today it's gonna be very simple. I promise I'm not gonna take too much of your time. Really, Claudette asked me to present a PowerPoint about what the difference is between cruising and having a land package or a staycation, right? So it's gonna be very general. I'm gonna talk about how what kind of cruising Norwegian does, and we call it freestyle cruising. I'm gonna go into that later. And you know what? Let me just get going. I'm gonna show you the agenda. So right off the bat, I'm gonna talk about land vacation versus cruise, and then I'm gonna talk about freestyle cruising. So that's Norwegian's model. Our every cruise line has a different flair, and Norwegian's flair is called freestyle cruising. And I'm gonna talk about port times. And once I get to it, you will understand why. And it will give you a very big way on how you could distinguish different cruise line. And hopefully it will guide you in the future on picking your dream itineraries when you cruise. And I'm just gonna briefly touch on NCL promotion. And if you really love this presentation, let Claudette know, book with Claudette, and I'll be happy to host more cruise nights that's more focused on destinations or ships. Okay. So why do you want to choose a cruise? And really the what most people would say, and really it's kind of like the rule of thumb. Cruising is for the adventurers that wants to open their eyes, and every day they're at a new destination, and they don't have to pack and unpack every day, right? So on the screen you'll see cruise, a new port to explore almost every day, providing immersive experiences in multiple destinations and countries, and value for your money. And if you're on land, land is still great, but let's say you fly to Cabo, you fly to Cancun, that's one destination. And maybe if you want to go down the Gulf, you go down south to the Gulf of Mexico, you will have to drive in unfamiliar territory, and you will have to pack and unpack if you want to move along, right? But if you're on a cruise, and you're doing, let's say, the Western Caribbean, where you will see a lot of Mexican ports. You wake up every day, you get to hit 3, 4 Mexican ports plus a private island. So that's the difference between doing a land vacation and cruise. And for an example, I put a picture of our world famous Pride of America out of Hawaii. We're the only cruise line that does this. So for those of you who's never been to Hawaii, and there's so many options. There's 4 big islands. Like which one would you like? Are you gonna fly back multiple times? In our case, when you go on a Norwegian cruise line ship, uh, when you go on Pride of America, you wake up every day. You're at different destination. We overnight in Maui. We overnight in Kauai, and really you get over over 100 hours in port, exploring Hawaii, right? And you don't have to worry about packing, unpacking. You don't have to worry about going to the airport, getting onto the plane to go on to a different port. And plus, you're pretty much, you have your own floating hotel. You have food taken care of. You don't have to worry about all the hassles of traveling during your vacations. And also, more reasons on why you want to choose a cruise. So on land, usually, most resorts, of course, they will have entertainment. It's usually very limited. But if you're on a cruise line, we have pockets of activities, right? So, um, um, you have pockets of activity. Sorry, I was looking at the chat box. And for example, when Claudette was with me on the Norwegian Spirit, we would have like 3 live bands playing at the same at different venues at the same time. We have matches show going. On the bigger ship, we will have Broadway production shows. So there's different things going on the ship at the same time, offering you more variety, right? So on the screen, I posted some entertainment that you would usually see. We have Broadway production show. Norwegian is actually the first cruise line to bring Broadway production show onto a cruise ship. We have Burn on the Floor. It's really like a dancing show. How at the Moon is like a dueling piano. Circuit Soleil. I always butcher that name, but we have circus shows, a lot of entertainment options for you when you're on a cruise. And also, just to give you an example, going back to Mexico, so this is a picture of me actually on that same cruise that Claudette was talking about. And shame on me, Claudette, we should have taken some pictures because I couldn't find any pictures in my photo album, or maybe you have all the pictures. But this is a picture of me doing a excursion. uh, our ship docked in Valdez, and I took a local excursion through Norwegian Cruise Line, and I get to see the Columbia Glacier up close. Right, so this is a picture of me with the glacier in the background, and when you're and going back to land, if you're in a land package, you usually would go down to a hotel concierge and ask for their recommendations, right? And a lot of times the and sometimes the hotel concierge, they haven't personally done all the tours, right? It's more like a brochure. Maybe a supplier comes into the hotel, handed them some information. But when you're with Norwegian Cruise Line, or any cruise line really, we spend a lot of effort. We actually have a QC, quality control department, that overlooks the shore excursion product, where every year they go out and they work with our land partners into making sure everything is up to the standards, up to the safety. So when you pick a shore excursion through the cruise line, you have the knowledge, you have the peace of mind knowing that, hey, this has been inspected every year. So, of course, when you're cruising, you get to see destinations that's usually not available otherwise if you're on land, right? So on the screen over here on the left, it's the Nepali coast in Hawaii. Obviously, if you're on land, you can actually access that part of the coast because that is a protected area. You will have to see it via a helicopter or on a ship. For example, on the Pride of America. And on the picture on the right here is actually showing Hubbard Glacier. Actually, also the same cruise I was with Claudette on. And it was a beautiful day. We get to see the glacier, and we had great weather. Great weather. If you're thinking about going to Alaska, I don't care who you go with. This year is the year. Just to give you an example, because of COVID, a lot of cruise line bring their ship to Alaska because Asia was closed off, Australia was closed off. So in 2019, Alaska had 38 cruise ship. This year there's 50 cruise ship there. So there's a lot of supplies. Obviously, I want you to travel with Norwegian, and Claudette will give you the details on which cruise line to choose based on your own preference. But this year, especially if you guys are located in Seattle, it's it's the best time to see Alaska. The pricing is amazing. So now I'm kind of done with comparing cruises to land. I can go on and on and on. But really, at the end of the day, that's the main gist of it, at least for me, right? I love adventure, and I'm a lazy guy, so I don't want to pack and unpack every day. When I get on a cruise on the first day, I set everything in the closet, and I don't have to worry about my about packing and unpacking until the end of the week, and I get to see multiple destinations. Now I'm gonna talk about the freestyle cruising that's Norwegian is known for. So um cruising has come a long way. If you're looking at love boats or different people's review on cruising, they make it seem like very formal, very stuffy, and that might be it for some cruise lines out there. Where they tell you have to dress up. You bring all the men brings a tux and a suit. The ladies will be in dresses. There'll be ballroom dancing and orchestra playing and all that stuff. Right now, if that's your kind of cruise, I'll be very upfront with you. Norwegian Cruise Line is not the cruise line for you. We're known as the freestyle cruise line, and in that we have a very flexible experience, right? So we are unlike most other cruise line. Most other cruise line would say, all right, Thomas, you get onto the ship, here is your assigned dining time every day, 8:30. You're sitting at table 10 right next to Claudette, right? And then that's your assigned seating for the whole week. Now, Norwegian, we have no assigned dining times, no assigned dining seats. So you get to eat whenever you want, wherever you want. Like there's no assignments. Our ships are built that way. And if you want to make reservations, we allow that too. But really, that's our go-to. We have resort casual attire, right? So you can wear anything you want, as long as you're not naked, of course. But not on some cruise line, if you're not dressed formally, they'll ask you to not come into the public area. But that's not Norwegian. So we resort casual. You can be in jeans. You can be in a tank top, things like that. So that's a very big differentiator to cruising on Norwegian. Now, of course, I mentioned earlier there's entertainment. We're the first one to invite Broadway production shows onto our ship. That's our go-to. We also have a variety of sorry, I'm getting a brain freeze right here. Variety of live entertainment. For example, if you guys are in Seattle, the Norwegian Bliss and the Encore. We have country music, Latino music, classic jazz, and just regular band playing at the same time in different areas of the ship. So, very, very a lot of a variety for you to choose from. Our ship, once you've been on it, you would know that there's always pockets of activities happening to facilitate people. Like if you don't like something that's you're seeing, if let's say you don't like country music, you're free to move about. While many other cruise lines, you're kind of stuck with the entertainment set at that time. So I'm gonna go really quickly. So what's a cruise? What kind of cruise product is Norwegian for? Right? There's different budgets of travelers in many different types of categories. The imaging is 60 something, and we're actually we're targeting the late 40s. And if you look on any demographic research online, that Norwegian actually is one of the younger cruise line people go for. So, whether you're in luxury, whether you're young, and we actually have solo travelers. So we do facilitate solo travelers for meetups. We also have cabins that's specifically designed for solo travelers. Whereas if you've been on a cruise or any other resorts, really all inclusive, you would know if you go by yourself, you have to pay a single supplement fee, right? Because a lot of cruises, a lot of resorts, they expect two people in the room, but if there's only one of you, they ask you to pay more money. Now, Norwegian Cruise Line, we pioneer what's called the studio cabins. These are inside cabins. They're a bit smaller than a regular inside, but it's great for a single travelers. And actually, the studio cabins are located in an area. It's key card access only, and in that area, everyone is single in those categories. So it's great for solo travelers, for you to meet other solo travelers on the ship, and also what in that area, there's also a lounge for the single travelers to hang out. So, if you're a single person like me and you're trying to meet friends or you're trying to mingle on a cruise ship, you don't have to look around to see, hey, is the boyfriend right around the corner, right? Like, hey, if I'm meeting someone in the studio lounge, they're for sure single on the ship, right? So, and of course, foodies. Norwegian Cruise Line is also the first cruise line to pioneer specialty dining experiences onto the ship, where we actually have higher end food. For those of you who don't like, the 8 complimentary restaurants we actually have teppanyaki, steak, Italian restaurant, Brazilian steakhouse, different specialty restaurants for you to enjoy. So we actually have a lot of ships. We now have 19 ships. Again, I can talk about Norwegian for probably a whole day, and obviously I don't want to take up too much of our time. I'm aiming to finish under 30 minutes. But we have the youngest average age of ship at sea, if you're not counting Virgin voyages. And Virgin, they came out during the pandemic. They only have 2 ships. Kind of unfair to compare to a 50-year company, but we have 19 ships going on, and we constantly refurbish the ship. Like, for example, the Norwegian Spirit, which Claudette and I were on, was built in 1998, but we refurbished her. We spent $100 million refurbishing her in 2020. That's almost a cost of a brand new ship. Okay, give me a second here. And really quickly, I'm going to talk about Norwegian's port times, right? Norwegian, we actually go to over 400 destinations worldwide, and every big circle you see, the big white circle you see on the screen, are actually ports we go out of, right? So, if you remember in the beginning of the presentation, I actually had a picture of Cape Town, South Africa. That's one of my dream. I might go there next year. So that's one of our home port, Cape Town, exploring South Africa. But of course we go all over the world. Now, a lot of times when they first get into cruising, or maybe they're in their beginning phases of figuring cruises out, they're very honed in on price, and there's nothing wrong with honing on price, but I want to bring your attention to something more important. If you're a venturer like me, from what we're talking about earlier in the presentation about, hey, I want to wake up every day, I want to see a new port. Norwegian Cruise Line, we actually have more port days and port times compared to other cruise lines in the industry. And when you try to when you try to search for cruises online, usually the cheapest cruises are always the ones that's at sea longer. It's cheap because the cruise line is trying to make money off of you while the ship is at sea. and you're in the casino, you're buying things, you're buying drinks. But Norwegian, we actually have more port days. So, if you're looking at the screen right now, the average sailing in the industry is in the sailing, let's say it's 10 days, 63% of it is ports in a regular, regular cruise line. But on Norwegian, 75%. So that's more port days compared to other people. And actually, if you and even if you look at port days, you have to pay attention to how many hours we're staying at a ship, at a port. Sometimes a cruise line will only dock at a port for 3-4 hours. Well, Norwegian, we would spend the whole day. We're overnighting in some ports. For example, Santorini, which is one of the most popular cruise ports in Europe. Most cruise lines leave at 5 p.m. in Santorini, while Norwegian and our sister brand, Oceania and Region 7 Seas, we leave Santorini at 10 p.m. So you get to see the sun setting in the beautiful islands. You get to experience the nightlife. We just offer a completely different product than what's out there. So just to give you an example, and I'm gonna talk about open jaw sailing. So a lot of cruise line, the reason why they have a lot of sea days is because they do round trip, right? They go to Alaska, but they have to come back. That's a very big distance traveled. So you obviously have to spend more days at seas. But for Norwegian, we do more one ways. So you can visit more destination while having more time at each port. We also do extended seasons in Alaska, in Europe, in Asia. We stay longer than other people, so you get to see a different side of the destination. You're not just cramming into Italy or Greece. During July and August, you're actually seeing them in May. You're actually seeing them in October, and it's a completely different feel, different atmosphere. So just to give you an example, in November, I know right now I have December 12th listed, but actually the cruise is more in November. You can tell I kind of cheated and I use an older presentation, but um it's the same cruise from Venice to excuse me, from Haifa, Tel Aviv to Venice, one way. And if you're looking at the times, right, like for example, Jerusalem, you're getting at 6 a.m. in the morning and you're leaving at 10 p.m. at night. And when you're talking to Claudette later, when you're trying to lock in your first cruise, or whether you're doing your own research, I'm telling you, check out the port times that each cruise line lists online, right? Like if they don't list the cruise time, it's because the time docked at that port is probably very minimal. So you have to really pay attention to that. And if you're looking at this cruise, in a 10-day sailing, there's only 1 sea days, right? Might sound very tiring, but for a venture like me, I love this. I'm seeing a destination every day when I wake up. And another example, that's me in Japan, right outside of Hiroshima. Tokyo to Taipei, port every single day. And if you're looking at the times, again, we're staying for a very, very long time. Like, for example, in Kyoto, we're actually overnighting in Kyoto, right? You get to go take the train from Kyoto to Osaka. And you can actually, if you're into whiskey like me, there's Yamazaki Distillery is right between Kyoto and Osaka, and it's really worth the trip if you really like whiskey. So I had a picture of South Africa in the beginning. Here is an example of visiting South Africa. And sorry, you actually will actually go up to Walvis Bay on the west coast. There is a little bit. I think there's 2 sea days here, but still, this is one of my dream trip. If you book with Norwegian, you might see me in one of those cruises next year. So very exciting. It's selling like hotcakes. If you're interested, reach out to Claudette. She will plan you a trip to South Africa. Maybe we'll meet up. I promise. I said I'm gonna be. I want to present in under 30 minutes. We are almost there. We are almost there. Really quickly, I'm gonna blast through this so you have time for some Q&A. So Norwegian, we also bundle things. Unlike a lot of other cruise lines, we are a little bit pricier. We are in the premium contemporary space. So we're not your typical Carnival Princess price, but we do offer more value for your money. For example, when you buy a cruise with Norwegian, we have buy one get one air free, right? Los Angeles to Athens for 2 tickets round trip, $1,200. You can't even get one person's round trip for that kind of money. We have unlimited open bar included, specialty dining packages included. Now, those two, we give you the package, but we do ask that you pay gratuity. It's a mandatory gratuity of 20%. It comes out to about $21 per person per day for the beverage package. So if you're drinking more than 2 drinks, it's very well worth your money. Sure excursion credit. We give you a discount on Sure excursion when you book it through us. We get Wi-Fi packages. And on selected sailing, we have 3rd and 4th guests sail free in the cabin. They just have to pay the government taxes and port charges. That's really levied on by the government, so you have to pay it. But really, our fare includes all of that. So a little bit more expensive, but we're giving you more value for your buck. We also, if you're very interested in trying out Norwegian, we currently have a promotion going on called Cruise First. So what that is you pay $150. We give you a $300 credit. Now, this is not refundable, but the 300 credit you can put down to any cruise you want to with Norwegian Cruise Line. You just have to, and for most of our cruises, well, for all of our cruises, it's fully refundable before final payment. So if you make a deposit for 2024 bookings, for 2025 bookings to lock in the price, and let's say, next year you decide that you don't want to go, before final payment, you can get a full refund on any money you put down. But if you buy a Cruise First instead, we will refund you the Cruise First credit, the $300 credit that we're showing on the screen. So just an FYI, if you want to learn more, talk to Claudette. She will sort you out. But I can go on and on about this for an hour or two. But it's a great way to get more value for your money. Also, we really started. We just recently started a active military veteran military appreciation program, and it's automatic. It's automatic. You just have to go online on ncl.com/military to enroll, and you get a permanent 10% discount on all of our cruises. There's steps online on our website showing you how to do it, and really you just verify through id.me, and we'll take care of that. So and it will apply automatically. So if you or your friends or your spouse is in the military, you get to enjoy a little discount for your cruise. And that's it. I'm amazingly on time. Claudette will be shocked because when she was on the ship with me, I go on and on and on for days just talking. But I want to leave some time for you guys to ask any questions. And I'm here for you. Again, if you are interested in hearing more, I'll be happy to talk to you guys more, focus more on Norwegian Cruise Line or a specific destination. But really today, Claudette asked me to present more about why I want to do why people should do cruise versus land. And of course, for those of you who come in late and you want to learn about what happened in the beginning of the presentation, we're actually recording this. So I'm sure Claudette will post it on her website or send it out to the email addresses, and you guys get to view it from the beginning. All right, Claudette.
All right. Thank you so much, Thomas. I was holding my tongue to join in and just chat with you because you're just so fun to chat with. But this was great. Well, and I had a question and I wanted to kick off the questions. And if anybody else has questions, feel free to put them in the chat or just go ahead and ask Thomas directly. But earlier on, you were talking about the single supplement. Um, and do hotels have a single supplement? Or how does
So that's a great question. Usually if you a regular hotel does not have single supplement, but if you do all inclusive hotels, all inclusive resorts, those are per person. But if you're one person taking up a room, those all inclusive hotel will ask for a single supplement. Or if you're taking land tours, let's say you're interested in Abercrombie and or Globus tours where they're doing a safari in South Africa. Usually the fare they presented to you is based on two people traveling. And if you tell them you're only traveling solo, they will usually tag on a single supplement charge. So that's a great question, Claudette. Not every travel product out there charges it, but most do. Most do. So obviously, airline doesn't charge single supplement. Most hotels don't. But again,
we charge
if
by
you're
the
in the other
room?
side of the world, sometimes they will ask for a supplement. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was saying hotels tend to charge by the room. So, they'll say it's like, oh, it's $200 a night. Oh, but it's one person. Well, it's $200 a night up to two people. And then they charge more.
Yeah, third and fourth. It's people are getting on. Like in Europe, if you have more than three people, they charge you extra. In Hawaii, if you have more than two, they charge you an extra tax on top of it, on top of having people in the room. So you have to really watch out for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and then going back on topic about cruise versus land, and especially since you brought up Hawaii, and I know we've talked about Hawaii, and one of the trips that I've been wanting to do with my meetup and Facebook groups, trying to do Hawaii, where we go back every year, make that an annual trip like Paris. And one of the next times we go back to Hawaii, I really want to do island hopping. So could you compare the difference between island hopping on Norwegian, since you're the only cruise line that really does island hopping really well in Hawaii versus, I guess, what is the other option? Going to the airport every day or?
Well, so there are actually other cruises doing Hawaii, but because their ships are not American flag, they have to touch a foreign port. So, for example, Celebrity does a Vancouver to Hawaii round trip. That's like a 16-day cruise to visit Hawaii. You're only on the island for 60 hours. Carnival does Los Angeles and San Francisco round trip to Hawaii, but they go down to Ensenada, then they sail to Hawaii, then they sail to Hawaii. So they added more sea times that way, and Norwegian is the only cruise line in the world with an American flag cruise ship. So we were able to do that. Now going back to your question on island hopping, right? The only other options really you would have for island hopping is obviously you can get on a sailboat in Honolulu or any other island, but that takes a lot of time. If you're not cruising and you want to island hop, really the only option is to get on the airplane. And it's going to take you like 20-30 minutes to get to the next island, which is awesome. But keep in mind, you still have to go through security. You still have to look everything through the airport. And if you've never been to the Honolulu airport, Daniel, I forgot the actual full name, but that airport is actually open air. So Hawaii is nice, but if you're lugging luggage, and the weather is kind of humid. It's not that great walking the big airport. Their airport is pretty big. So that's the only really other options for you to island hop is to get onto the plane. And obviously you can be with Norwegian where we overnight in ports. So you can go play all day in Maui, and when you're tired, come back to the ship. There's restaurants, there's food, there's entertainment, there's your bed, and you wake up again to do the same thing. Or just you get on a plane and just island hop.
And the airport hopping, unless you really like to fly, in Hawaii, do you know you have to be at the airport? Like I know here in Seattle, we have to be there 2 hours ahead. I wonder if that's the same in Hawaii.
So it's domestic.
Mhm.
It's domestic cruising. Not domestic flying. So it's not that bad. I would say an hour. You just have to be careful because what Hawaii does is they want to protect their ecosystem. So they're very strict about um checking your luggage because they don't want you to bring stuff in, and they don't want you to transport different agricultural stuff between islands that they didn't approve of first. So they will look very closely at the stuff you're bringing back and forth. That's and that will tack on some travel time, but I would say it's an hour probably. I've only island hopped between Oahu and Maui. I haven't island hopped the other two islands. I only cruised it. I haven't done airplane there. So that's my experiences, and it might change. That was before COVID. I don't know what the situation is like right now after COVID, uh, island hopping wise.
Well, I'm not going to ask all the questions, even though I do have a couple more. So I'll put those on hold. But let's see if we have any other questions. If you do, feel free to type it in the chat or just unmute yourself and go ahead and ask Thomas.
Yeah, I think everyone's very shy.
I got a real good one for you if nobody else pipes up.
All right.
Give
I
it.
think everyone's focused. I'm not gonna lie. Like I'm kind of I want to know what's happening with that submersible, the submersible, situation in the Atlantic by Titanic, right?
Oh,
The Titan.
really? I've missed out. What's to do with that? What's going on?
No, there was just for because I'm into adventure, right? And so what happened is there's a submersible. It's like a 5 people submarine, like a smaller one, and they're exploring the Titanic, and they lost contact.
Oh,
This happened maybe 3 days, 2 days ago. They only have enough air for 4 days, so they literally have to find them in the next 2 hours, or they're probably gonna, the result won't be good if they can't find them in the next two
hmm.
hours. So if you're interested, I'm Google it later after this call. But go ahead. I think everyone's shy, um, or maybe very focused on Google News. But
Yeah.
if you have a question, come at me. I'll be happy to answer.
Oh, and while we're waiting for that, I will post in the chat. So I have 2 Norwegian cruises coming up where we can take advantage of using the cruise ship as a floating hotel. The first one is a Northern UK cruise with, this is really nice. We have stops. Oh, it was one of those 9 days, 7 ports. So a lot of time at the different ports where we're going to be in the UK, of course, Ireland, and with the stop in France. So that is going to be a lot of fun. And then the next one, which I thought was really cool, especially for the adventurers in the group, 10 days in South America. And like Thomas was saying, wake up every day to a different port. So 10 days, 10 ports through Brazil, Uruguay, Argentina, from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and then ending in, oh, I had it on the tip of my tongue. Well, let me just go and look here. Oh, in Buenos Aires. So get to spend 2 days in Buenos Aires. And it is just fabulous. Great food, great music, dancing. Um, and oh, and then coming, I'm looking for my dates to do this island hopping in Hawaii, because I was
Great.
looking at the difference, honestly, about island hopping and looking at articles about that. And they were saying, well, if you don't mind spending a lot of time in the airport, that would be a way to go. But you're going to be on vacation. Like I said, if you really like to fly and you really like airports, some have pretty nice airports, but everybody that I've talked to about this, they're like, yeah, it's worth the extra money to have that freedom and to be actually enjoying the
That
vacation.
the convenience, and Claudette, if I may, I should have put this into the slide. Is, it's a floating hotels. So if you're visiting a country that you probably wouldn't really visit because it's maybe not as developed, right? Maybe in South Africa, right? There's not that many resort options. You might be worried, well, where am I going to stay the night? But if you're visiting South Africa, or if you're in South America, where, hey, I know I'm going to a cruise ship, they have all the amenities I need. We actually have clinics, we have hospitals on board the ship with doctors and nurses, right? So really, anything, it's a traveling, um it's a moving hotel, it's a moving city with hotel, really restaurant, entertainment that you need while traveling. So let's say you get bored of a port, for example, Bermuda. I've been to Bermuda once. I don't know why people keep going back. But I have colleagues on the East Coast. They go to Bermuda on our cruise ship, but they don't even get off, right? And they just stay on the ship because there's more things to do on the ship. So just to give you an example, I should have mentioned it earlier. Again, cruise ship, a floating hotel, it's perfect for you to visit um destinations that's not as developed, as to what we have in the States, but you can still have the comfort of knowing that, hey, I can go back to my bed, there's gonna be AC, all that kind of good stuff. Sorry, call that, go back to you.
No, no, that was really good. Oh, and while you were saying there was, so the question that I had on hold, um, how many ports do you have where you are spending the night?
So that's give me a second. So it's really dependent on the itinerary.
Mhm.
Usually, so for the Japan one, we do Kyoto because that's such an awesome city. If you guys never been, one of my favorite city in the world.
I got to ride a
Uh,
motorcycle up to Kyoto and buy
oh yes, you've been
kimonos.
to Japan. You were teaching English in Japan.
Yeah,
That's right.
and I got to do a Shakespeare park, or sorry, Shakespeare. It was a Midsummer Night's Dream in a park. Yeah, but still, the motorcycle ride there much better. No, they were
Yeah,
both
no,
really
it's
good.
amazing. So, Kyoto. I know we overnight in Egypt, Istanbul, and like it's you're testing me, Hawaii,
Is
obviously.
is there a
uh
curfew? Do you have to get back on board at a certain time in the night, or?
no, so when we're overnighting at a location, if you want to stay locally at a hotel, you can.
Oh,
There's so that's the ship is gonna be there, so it's not like we're we're like
sneak away.
sailing out to sea at night and then come back again in the morning. No, it's docked on the ship, docked by the dock. So we are adding more places. It really depends on the local situation, just because sometimes on the less developed country, some of the ports you're actually in a container port, right? So they need the space for container ship. So it really depends on the situation. But then there's also ports where we overnight, but we tender. So where we spent, there's small boats taking you from the pier, from the port to the ship, because some of the ports, they're not deep enough for the cruise ship. So you have to tender. And for that, for those, there might be like a, like a, like a schedule. Like maybe every hour we will, maybe usually during the day it's every 15 minutes there's like a water taxi taking you, but maybe at night you'll be like, hey, once an hour, after midnight, once every 2 hours, something like that. So everything's available. We would tell the clients at the on the ship like what the schedule is if that were to happen. But usually when we overnight, it's at a physical port, and we just dock there for the whole night. So that's a great question.
So from what you were saying, it sounds like it's pretty easy to get off the ship, go to port, explore around, come back, get back off the ship. Kind of if
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest, like my only experience with overnighting on our cruise ship is on the Pride of America. And that's you're in the US technically. So there's no, you don't have to go through custom or anything like that. For other ports, it might be a little bit different. So I can't really speak to that. It really depends on each country on how their port usually functions.
yeah, because I know I've been on ships where we've gone off into a foreign country, and going through security or through customs was a breeze compared to like going through the airport.
Yep.
And yeah, it was very, very, yeah, I wouldn't say minuscule, but yeah, because you're going through those things when you're getting on the ship. There, you're going through a lot of the security checks and everything. So maybe that's the reason.
Yeah. And guys, if you're watching this conversation back and forth, this is information you usually don't find, booking for yourself, right? Claudette has traveled extensively. I've traveled extensively. So we know what we're, so we have knowledges to share, right? And that's one of the things why you would book with a travel advisor, at least with Norwegian, and usually with most suppliers, you get a same price or even better price when you book through a travel advisor. So, if reach out. Like I think I was telling Claudette this on the ship. I compare our profession like accountants, right? Sure, you can do your own taxes, right? There, you can do it yourself online. There's instructions on how you could do it, but there are actually professional that invested their lives. Our livelihood is on this, to know all this information, to provide it to you, so you don't have to do all this legwork researching yourself, like finding the situation about overnighting at a specific port, right? So I just want to talk to you guys about the benefit of using a travel professional.
Thank
And
you.
Claudette is one, obviously. That's why I'm on her webinar.
Yes. Yeah, and I also have my digital card up there in the chat. So before we wrap things up, I ask if you yeah, go ahead and go ahead and copy the information out of the chat, because I have not learned yet how to save that. But I'll make a copy of myself and then attach it
Wait,
to
let me make you the host, so you have control again, and you can decide if there's something you can do about it.
Oh no, I'm just gonna go ahead and copy it and set it aside and then do something else with it.
Great.
Yeah, so I'll have that available for people. But yeah, thank you so much, Thomas, for coming on. I am really looking forward to my next Norwegian cruise, the one that we did last month. And I'll just say, I mean, Alaska really wasn't on my list to do. And now I'm going to Alaska twice this year. I did a sampler last year and I go, okay, I've done Alaska. And then Thomas invited me up, and then people were going, "You're going to Alaska in May? Won't it be cold?" And when we went, it was actually over Mother's Day and my birthday, so it was like double celebration. And it was when we were having a heat wave in Seattle and Vancouver, so I think it kind of extended up to Alaska. And then on the ship, you could tell who was there from like Florida because they were all bundled up. And then the people from the Pacific Northwest, like me, walking around in bathing suits and shorts and short sleeves and such. So I would say if anybody is looking, wondering when's a good time to go to Alaska, I would highly recommend going in May. I would do that again in a heartbeat. You got the snow, the glaciers, the temperatures were not bad, and pricing is usually pretty good for May too.
Yep. Yep. It's but again, like this year, if you're thinking about going, I think this year is the time. The pricing is delicious right now. I might go. I might go again. Just yeah, I don't know. Because every time I go to Alaska, there's a different feel, and I've been told, now going to the ports, do the nature hikes, and I did one in Skagway. I really enjoyed it. So maybe I'll go back and do more.
Yeah, and we miss doing that, the scenic train. But oh gosh, yeah, they were looking out for our safety because, you got to be aware. Like in Washington, we've got landslides, and this was, I guess, happening that time, and there was an avalanche, and had they not been diligent about that, I really feel that we would have been caught in that avalanche. So yeah, it was a good call to switch us over to the tour buses. And that's the thing about traveling. You have to be flexible. Things are going to
Exactly.
happen, and just roll with it and have fun. People say, oh, everybody likes to travel, but they don't like the traveling part to get to the destination. And it's like, oh no, if once you leave your home and getting into that car to go to the airport or wherever, that's when your vacation really needs to begin. And it's all a mindset. But
Yep.
Wayne's a
Yep.
really good travel companion that way. We will have a little party in the car as we're getting to the airport. Might as well start right away.
Yep.
Well,
That's right.
before
That's
we
right.
roll off here, and I'm just see, I can talk about travel just as well as Thomas can. But before we ring off here, does anybody have any questions? I hope I haven't asked all the questions for you. Well, if you don't have questions now, definitely feel free to reach out to me. I've posted my digital card. I'll have that available for people watching the recording. If you have any questions for me or for Thomas, and I can pass those along. And yeah, I'm hoping to do this on a more regular basis. And oh yeah, and I'll have an access to replay. So I'll have those posted on all the meetups, the Facebook groups, or the Facebook event page, and then also on my site, bit.ly/Claudette Travels, all lowercase. Thank you, Anita. And yeah, thank you so much, Thomas. This is like I think you're the first in the series of me doing this. So thank you. Thanks for the
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Thank you,
inaugural.
Claudia, for the opportunity, and thank you, everybody.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll see
Thank
you
you.
next time. And for those in the Seattle area, we do traveler socials every third Friday. This Friday, it happens to be sold out. For just a venue we're going to. It's a little small, but yeah, go ahead and post a comment on those if you're interested, and we'll look at some other venues and getting larger venues. And summer in Seattle, we'll do a lot of others traveler social things, so you can go out and meet new travel buddies and get some plans or trips planned, and start looking at where we want to go, or looking at trips in the fall and winter and then into next year. But of course, we want to stay in Seattle during the summertime because, oh shoot, this is recorded. Other people are going to hear this. Darn it. But for the Seattleites, it's nice in the summer. Yeah, you got to come up and visit us one summer, Thomas.
Yeah, I have to now.
I know, I'm giving away my secrets. Oh, do we have any senior cruises? That's a good one. Oh,
Are you
Thomas.
asking me? Is there
Yeah,
any
that was
senior?
just one question here, just right
Oh,
through the wire. Do we have any cruises Not sure if specific to seniors or seniors only, or what's the demographics on a cruise ship.
Well, so most cruise ship are tends to lean older. But like I said in my presentation, ours typically skew a little bit younger. Now, of course, we don't discriminate. You can come regardless of ages. Um, but we don't have senior specific cruise. Usually those senior specific cruises are more, you will find a lot of them for the Caribbean. It's usually more relaxing, more beach day vibes. That's when you would find more senior cruises. But of course, there are actually a lot of senior people also traveling to see all these adventure places in South America, South Africa, and things like that. So it's hard to say. I'm really giving you a non-answer, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, and then also the cruises are really great with having mobile assistance and going through the terminal like you would have at the airport, and going through the cruise terminal or on board. And then even with all of the activities on board, there are a lot of great places to like kick back and relax, enjoy, kicking back out on the, oh gosh, I'm going to get the name wrong again. Spirit. I got the name right. On the Spirit, we had some really great lounge areas where we can watch the glaciers right up in the front of the ship, as well as, oh, Thomas, the pub that you were going to try all the different whiskeys.
Yeah, it's I think it's called Henry's Pub.
Yeah, Henry's Pub.
Yeah.
So like great little niche places on board where you can, where it feels like you're in a neighborhood, and going over to the neighborhood bar, or getting some great views, or just little cubby holes to hang out on, and then just a variety of activities to do as well.
Yeah.
So, oh, there was a question that came up. Can you leave a cruise for an extended stay overseas? And I'm going to refer that over to you, Thomas.
So that's a great question. And really, for this, so most cruise lines will tell you no, you cannot leave a cruise midway, but really no one's gonna stop you, right? Like we're not gonna say no, we're gonna jail you for the rest of the cruise. And usually what would happen is, regardless of which cruise line you're at, just you would go to the guest services and you tell them, hey, look, I gotta leave. I'm gonna take all my stuff at this port. But then it's up to you to, pay attention to the local visitation situation at that cruise, right? So for example, and this won't happen now, but when we used to do the Baltic sailings to Russia,
Mm.
St. Petersburg, if you don't book a short excursion with Norwegian, you cannot get off the ship, because for Americans to visit Russia, you need a special visa. So unless you book it through Norwegian, or you book it in advance with a third party and they take care of the visa for you, you can't even get off the ship, right? So if you're planning to do, if you're planning to leave the cruise midway, that's you have to do the necessary homework. But to give you an idea, so if I don't think you're on my earlier presentation, Judy, but Norwegian, we do a lot of open jaw cruises. So what that means is we don't do round trip, we do it one way. So I actually have a travel partner. They have a 20 cabin group, so 40 people. They did a one way from New York to Barcelona. And in an inside cabin, it was $500 per person, right? And it was like a 14-day cruise. But the thing is, that's cheaper than an airline ticket.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
that includes, drinks, food and entertainment for those days, right? So if you don't, if you're currently retired, or you like to take a, a longer, you don't want to deal with the airport, you're okay with a more leisure way of traveling, you can do a lot of transatlantic, trans-Pacific cruises, and Claudette will be able to help you with that, but usually for those cruises, um, usually last minute is the best price. But if you want to make sure you have a great position, so one thing about cruises too is uh the prices you usually see are lead-in prices, and then there's also, depending on the position of the ship, right? If you want to do a high, a midship where there's less movement, usually those are the priciest cabins. But if you don't care where you're staying, you can be in an inside cabin in deck 4 with no windows, like those are the cheapest. So really, talk to Claudette, and she will sort you out on information like that.
Yeah, and Judy, actually, one of the open jaw cruises that Thomas mentioned is one that we have in South America from Rio de Janeiro down to Buenos Aires. So that's an adventure right there. But yeah, I'll definitely get in touch. Yeah, and 60s plus, that's not too. We're going back to the senior question though. Yeah, 60 plus. That's, I know. 80s are the new, like, what is it? 80 is the new 60.
Is that it?
Well, what was it? My dad was saying something about 70s the new 50s. So yeah, I guess I'll change that. But yeah, so here, well, we were just here for an hour. We went over a little bit, but I think that was great timing. We just had a little bit to get people situated and all. But yeah, thanks again. I can't thank you enough, Thomas. I look forward to having you come back, and especially since you've done the Hawaii one, and that's definitely one that is in the works for us. And have you come back and talk about island hopping in Hawaii?
Great, great. We'll do, we'll do. Well, thank you, everybody.
Sorry, it's nice out tonight, so I had to do at my office outside tonight. That means I get the street noise too. All right. So, oh, and just some bookkeeping things. Well, we'll talk about the recording. I'll get that posted here. And yeah, thank you again, everybody, for showing up. And please, if you'd like to see more of these, or you have some things that you would like to see, go ahead and message me directly, or just post a comment on the Meetup or Facebook event page that you found this on, and we will definitely do that because I'd like to do more of these.
Great.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.